This is the Polyend Play. It's an incredibly addictive groovebox that just got a very useful firmware update. It now has a piano roll. And this is a mandolin from the 1920s that I got at a junk shop. In this video, we're going to see if we can make some music on this very new thing using sounds from this very old thing. First, let's talk a bit about the Play. Polyend reached out to me a few months ago about doing a sponsored video on it, and I'm awfully glad they did because this device has been a real joy to work with. It's really intuitive, and its inventive triggering modes allow me to make music that I just never would have made on a computer. Okay, let's start at the top. The Play is a device that sequences and plays back samples. The samples it uses are stored on a micro SD card. There's a slot right up here. The card comes preloaded with a very complete library of sounds, which are organized into sample packs. Today, we're going to be using both that factory library as well as the mandolin samples that I just put onto that card. Right now, we're in the default mode. This is the mode where we actually get to make music. So if I press these steps, the grid squares light up, meaning that a sample will play at that moment in time. These knobs up here determine the work step, which is the note that will get played when I press one of these pads down here. I can choose a sample, I can choose a pitch, etc., and then I can go down here and place the notes onto the grid to my heart's content. I'm going to add some more kicks too. We can also edit steps. Now let's say we wanted to add reverb to that snare drum. We can select the snare drum, which is right here, and I can add reverb to just that one hit. Okay, let's add some of those mandolin samples. I've got a folder called Plucks. And I'm going to choose the first of these mandolin samples. Okay, now it's time to use that all-important piano roll mode. So I want my mandolin hits to show up right here. So I'm going to select this track, and then I'm going to hold down View. And as you can see, it changed. And if I press Notes here, anything that I add is just going to be added to that one track. It's a much more intuitive way of placing notes onto the grid, but we can actually do even better. Right now, this scale is chromatic, which means it's showing us all of the possible notes, but we can actually have it filter by scale. Choose Scale, Scale Filter, turn on. Yeah, let's stick with C minor. And you can see down here, the grid has actually changed. And just like that, I've made myself a little melodic loop. I'm going to hit View and we can go back into the default editing mode. So here are the notes we just created on the piano roll, and you can see that they are all in the lane that we had originally selected. By the way, you can select multiple tracks and go into the piano roll, and then you can do things like have chords. But let's stick with just what we've got right now. So as you've probably noticed, there are 8 lanes. Notes on these lanes are mutually exclusive, meaning the second a note plays on a lane, it mutes any other notes that were playing on that lane. Of course, we don't want that. We want the mandolin notes to ring out. So all we have to do is move some of these notes onto other lanes. Let's really spread out here. Pretty cool. Now, those notes actually sound pretty high to me. I actually want to lower them by an octave. So I'm going to select all the notes using the selection column on the right-hand side. I'm just going to turn the notes knob. I'm also going to lower the volume and turn the reverb up a little bit on these notes. Next, I'm going to add a quick bass synth line. Okay, we've got a bass line, we've got ourselves a nice little mandolin loop. This is the perfect time to talk about play mode, chance, randomize, and repeat. These 4 features are for me what makes the Play such a unique and compelling device. Play mode lets you choose to have the playhead move in a different order for some or all of your lanes. I'm just going to select the first mandolin lane and put it in a random mode. You can see it's already starting to rearrange our melody. I'm going to select the second one and put it in a second mode. Do the same for the third one. And just like that, we've kind of rearranged our melody. Next, let's look at chance. Chance lets us set the probability of an event taking place. The basic functionality is just to have the notes drop out sometimes, but you can have it do some more unusual things like randomly play another sample from your sample pool or actually play a random note from within the scale that you have selected. Next, we have randomize, which I should point out is not the same thing as chance. With chance, all of the changes it's making are temporary. They exist only for the length of that playback. Randomize lets you generate random values and save them permanently to your sequence. For example, let's say I wanted to randomly switch between samples in the same folder. I would just turn this probability up and it would generate new values. If I like what I hear, I can hit save, and it commits these changes permanently. Otherwise, the second I start messing with another control, it'll just revert back to whatever settings were in place previously. The next cool thing is the fill functionality, and it lets us fill the grid with pre-made beats. So you might be thinking to yourself, why on earth would I want that? The whole point of making music yourself is making music yourself. Well, sometimes it's actually pretty useful, especially for hi-hats. Check it out. So I'm going to select this track. I'm going to go up here to fill. I'm going to choose. And just like that, we've got ourselves a little hi-hat pattern. Admittedly, the one I've chosen isn't that original, but that's on me because there are loads to choose from. We've got ourselves a nice beat here. Let's put together a melody. I'm going to start by choosing a sample to use for the melody. Ooh, this clarinet sounds cool. Okay, let's go into the piano roll. I'm going to long press on view. Okay, I've run out of steps. As you've probably noticed, this pattern is 16 steps long, but patterns can actually be up to 64 steps. I'm setting this track's length to 64. And just like that, when we go back into the piano roll, we now have 64 steps. Of course, this can only display 16 at a time, so we can page through them by holding Shift and then selecting, you see how it says 16, 32, 48, 64? These are the different pages. I've already got a melody in my head, so I'm just going to try to get it down. Okay, this is what I ended up with. All in all, I really love this firmware update. The play was already extremely strong in the rhythm department, but now with the addition of piano roll, writing melodies is really easy too. In general, I'm surprised by how addictive I find this device. I think a lot of that is owing to how intuitive the user interface is. I made my first decent sounding beat within 15 minutes of opening the box. And yet, even now, months later, I'm still exploring its possibilities. For example, you can plug it into your MIDI gear and use it as a MIDI sequencer. I'm definitely looking forward to trying that. I want to thank Polyend for sending this and for sponsoring this video. Sponsorships like this help keep this channel going. If you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you could give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, now is a great time to subscribe. I've got a bunch of interesting videos on the way. By the way, if you like the sounds I'm using in this video, I've taken the mandolin samples and turned them into a decent sampler instrument. That is available for free to everyone, so I hope you all enjoy them and make beautiful music. Okay, I think that's it. See you soon.